Welcome to my makeshift teacher desk area, my work area. Is one of my dogs down there. I don't know if you can see her. Sorry for the mess during this whole online COVID-19 pandemic era. My name is James, if this is your first time to one of my videos. And in this particular video, I am going to talk and actually run through an online course that I set up for my anatomy and physiology students. I'm also teaching pre-AP chemistry, but I've been working on anatomy and physiology today, so I figured I might not show that. If you follow me on Instagram, on my stories, I asked for people to leave me questions so that way when I made this video, I could respond to some of them. So I'm going to do my best to respond to them. One of the many questions I received is, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Beyond creating and working with both preps, I'm also right now taking an online organic chemistry course for my master's program in chemistry. That's a lot of fun. Those three things keep me busy. Now, one of the questions that I was asked is, actually, I don't know if it was a question, it just said asynchronous learning, so I'm going to talk about both. So there's synchronous learning, asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning, if you don't know what that is real-time, face-to-face, virtual distance learning. So I know a lot of teachers are using things like Zoom, or they're using Teams meeting. My district, we use Zoom. So that allows me and my students to log in and talk with one another. I can teach a lesson, which I've done. I use like the little whiteboard feature to explain and solicited feedback from the students, and they liked the fact that I was able to use the whiteboard. They were able to see and follow along. The fact that I also had other example videos that I had created last year that I just broke up into smaller individual videos so that way they can pace themselves. And then there's asynchronous learning, which the online organic chemistry class that I'm in is right now. And basically the professor just posts everything up and opens the modules week by week, and I have to sit there, look at the objectives, the to-do list, complete the reading assignments, and do all the homework and upload it by a certain time. I never see him or I don't even know what he looks like. We have had reviews through like Teams meeting twice. He has lecture videos, but everything is just kind of self-student pace. And so I actually do both, just depending on what it is that I need to convey to the students. For our first meeting, we did a Zoom lesson because I needed to go over expectations, how all this works, how Zoom works, and things like that. Actually, the second day for both preps, we met online through Zoom, but it was really quick because I had rearranged the course page, which I'm going to show you in a few, and I walked them through, like, this is what you should expect, this is what you should look for, this is how it works, so on and so forth. And then if they had any questions, they could stay on with me, but then after that, they could leave the meeting. As far as grading goes, we have moved to a pass-fail system for the spring semester. We can teach new content, but it's not for a grade. But I have told my students I'm going to work with them. No one should fail my class as long as they're like logging in and they're trying and they're doing their work. I will work with them to help them be successful. As far as remediation goes, students are allowed to make up grades from the fall semester. However, they can only go to a 70%. Now, for me, the only issue that I have is that if you've watched my vlogs last year, I was implementing standards-based grading system, which it was a little bit of a nightmare last year, but this year I felt like I got a handle on that, where my students were giving me great feedback. So all year long I told my students, and it's in my syllabus, it doesn't matter like if you failed or you passed but you want a higher grade, you can change your grade at any point. So if you had an 85 and you wanted a 95, or you made a 55 and you wanted a 95, as long as you can demonstrate proficiency or mastery of that standard, I would go back. As you know, you had to reassess, you had to come in for tutoring, reassess, and I would change. But now, district policy can't be higher than 70%. Although we did get an email saying that teacher had final authority over grades, so I'm not too sure about that. So for sake of time, I'm going to switch to my computer and just kind of go through, and actually it would be an example of what I sometimes do with my students, where like I do an online lesson if I'm doing asynchronous learning, where they would still see a video of me, but I would be going through the lesson. Okay, so this is my Canvas or Blend page. So I'm actually going straight to the online learning lessons. I'm in student view, but this is actually my sandbox. And so sandboxes, the students don't have access to this. It's just like a draft play around course page specifically for the teacher that I'm able to go around and learn how to use the system, the software,
create things, just play around with it, build the course page if I'd like to. And then when I think I'm ready, what I can do is go into the actual course page that the students have access to, and I can import all of this into the course page that the students can see. Now I am in my anatomy and physiology sandbox, and here's what the students see. And I actually changed this up a little bit based on student feedback that I received from students, because one of the things that I do for like a warm-up is a discussion board, which I'll show you in a few, where I ask the students, like, how are you doing? Like, what are you doing to manage your time? Is there anything that I did that you like? Or is there anything that I can do to improve, or that you have suggestions that I can do? And so actually one of my pre-AP chemistry students had a little bit, they said that they were confused going through, and normally I have pages, but what I found was that some students who weren't able to attend the synchronous lessons where we were face to face on Zoom and they had to watch the video, they were a little bit confused because they couldn't ask me a question in real time. So I decided to streamline that process, make pages, but actually create modules. So if you notice that we have 4 weeks, and I've told the students that previously covered virtual lessons will be grayed out. So week 1, day 1, and day 2 are grayed out because obviously that has passed. However, the students can still access those. So let's say, for example, they want to go back and they want to just use the flashcards that I made, the quiz of flashcards, or let's say they were absent and they couldn't attend that day or do the lesson that day, they can still click on it and access it. I'm not going to lock them out. The link for the lesson of that particular day, which will be for us anyways on Tuesday the 14th, I will make that link active. However, sometimes the page will be locked until a certain time. I didn't do that because I'm in student view right now and I wanted to walk you through this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And so here are just the directions for the day. And I'm not going to go through all this here. Anytime I do a Zoom virtual lesson with them, or if there's a teaching video, then I'm going to post this right here, but it will be like after our class meeting times. For anatomy and physiology, on Tuesdays, I have my online lessons from 12:30 to 2:30, and then on Thursdays from 2:30 to 4:30. So I will post that here. And then the lesson of the day, I can only see this if you use Canvas. There's a module function that some teachers use that students can see this, but if you watch my very first year of vlogging where I taught in the classroom, I think in one of my vlogs I talked about the fact that students, they would go through, like, you can hide some of these, but students would go through and they would get confused and they're like, I don't know which one to click on, even though I told them, like, I would put the data in there. Some of the students still, for some reason, they weren't able to find the module. And the only other thing is, like, if I had like notes or videos in a previous module, like if I disabled the module right here, they wouldn't be able to see that. And so I decided what I was going to do is I was going to disable the module function. So again, I'm in student view. This is all they can see is home, announcements, and they can access the Google Drive. They can't see anything else. They can't see pages, they can't quizzes, modules, or anything like that. And so what I did is, in my little sandbox, is I again created this and I took a snapshot of this and I underlined and highlighted and explained what they needed to do. So for example, before they can even access day 3 lessons, so on the 14th, they have to complete day 2. So it says right here, if I were a student and I didn't complete day 2 and I didn't show this for you, I would not have been able to access this page. A little message pops up that would pop up that would say that you need to complete day 2 requirements before you can even access this. And so if a student falls behind, they can still do this, but it's going to tell them that you need to go back and finish day 2. So that's a way for me to ensure that any student who's not able to attend the class, they're just not skipping around and completing just different lessons out of order, they're going in order. Then what I can do is, here's all the tasks for the students so they can see what it is that they need to do. The tasks are also titled, so notice here it says 0 day 3, the date, that matches also this part right here. So then when they go into task 1, it will also be titled this. Now they have to complete all these assignments sequentially in order. So they can't skip around. It will prevent that, and I think I'm going to show you that in a second. So for example, this first one, I have to actually mark this page as done. So let's say as a student, I don't do that and I just click next. What happens is it shows me a discussion board, but it says that it has not been unlocked yet. And the reason why is that I need to complete the requirements. I must mark as done. So I have to go back. I can either click here, or I can go back to previous, and I have to mark as done. Now that I've done that as a student, I should be able to click next and access the warm-up day 3, contribute to discussion board. That's also the other thing. I put what the students need to do in the title of the task. So task 2 is a quiz, which they have to obtain the code from me. Task 3, they have to submit it. It's notes on the basics of the digestive system. Task 4, they have to view it. It's just a Quizlet. And then task 5 is another discussion board of 3, 2, 1, and they have to contribute to that. And again, it just says, remember, you will not be able to access day 4, which would be on Thursday the 16th, if this day is not completed. And so let me go ahead and click next. So now I can access the discussion board. So here are just some questions. Again, describe one interesting or fun thing that you did this weekend. Again, interesting fun means it was interesting fun for you. How do you feel about the quiz you're about to take over the lymphatic system? Explain why. And then just a check-in with students. So it's an optional question. If they, for some reason, need help with something, they can always reach out to me. Maybe they need to get in contact with the counselor, administration. We have a family resource center that can help students financially. And so I just want them to respond to me through Remind, not on here, because then the other students will be able to see it. But I will monitor this as questions are coming in because I'm subscribed to it. So that if a student doesn't read that and they put some sensitive information in there, I can hide that response. My dad is calling me. Hold on. Hi, Dad. I'm doing well. One is right here underneath the table, and the other one is sleeping somewhere. Sorry, they were checking in on me to see how I was doing during this time, trying to get me more food. They're supposed to take a quiz, and so someone asked me about quizzes. So for quizzes, ideally, if we were in the classroom, my students would have access to their notes, but because we're at home, I can't really control that. So what I can control is I did tell them that they can, if they want to use the notes, they can. But however, the quiz is going to be timed, and Canvas has a function where you can either show all the questions at once, or they have to go question by question. You can also enable, if they're going question by question, to prevent them from going back. So once they click next, they can't go back. And I've done that before, so it's not anything new. So I told my students, they want to have a general idea of where things are at, or study at least a little bit, because they don't want to spend, if I give them 15 minutes and it's timed, they don't want to spend 5 minutes going through the notes trying to find things, because they now have only 10 minutes left. And if, let's say it's a 10-question quiz, they're not going to have much time for anything else. And when time is up, time is up. I could also, one of the things that I could perhaps do to prevent them from cheating is to use GoGuardian, because that allows me to see their screens. And I believe in one of my vlogs last year or the year before last, I showed what that looked like. I can see all their screens if they're using a Chromebook. Or I can also have them get on Zoom and say, okay, have the camera on you, I need to see you face to face. But I'm not going to go through all of that. At least right now, I'm going to see how that works. And I'll see, if that works or not. I don't know. I'm going to take the quiz. A quiz hasn't been developed yet because I'm making it right now in the process. Task 3, they're supposed to take notes. This was a template that I had from the lymphatic system. So there were some directions from me. I just wasn't going to use time to make a video over the immune system, so I had them watch Bozeman Science. And then there were some questions that they had to do. They had to take pictures of their notes, upload it, put it in the little text box as part of their questions, and they had to submit that. So let me submit that. The next task, I need to create this Quizlet. This is one from the lymphatic system, but it's just practice. So if you don't have Quizlets right now, it's free, or at least the teacher version. And so there are a couple of things that you can do. They can change the study mode. So right now I have set it on flashcards. They can do a test, they can learn, they can match, they can spell, but it's just a way for them to review anything. And so oftentimes I will have it after a video. I will have several quizzes, maybe in a module, after a video or after their notes. And for this one, for the lymphatic system, what I did was in the last page, they had to take a bunch of notes and answer those questions and upload it before they were able to access this. And then I just took those exact same questions and put them into a Quizlet as flashcards, so that way they can quiz themselves. This one they just have to view. Again, that's I need to make one for the digestive system. And then the last part is a discussion board, 3, 2, 1. So 3 new things you learned today, be specific, 2 things you already knew, and then 1 question or comment you have about this topic. An IDK, or I have no question or comment, is not an acceptable response.
So basically, that's how my online course is set up for my students. It's very just kind of simple, again, streamlined for the students to keep them from clicking all over the place. And so I'm not getting a whole bunch of remind messages, where do we go, etc. I know there are some things that I left out, but that video was already like 10 minutes long, and I'm trying to keep this short. So if there was anything that I didn't discuss or that you asked me through Instagram, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below, and I will do my best to get back to you. As always, thanks for watching, and until my next vlog.